Hey guys, Dan with S3 Archery here, and in this little video segment we're going to go over the basics of fletching up arrows. We've shot a couple of videos that are posted ahead of this one that goes through the whole process of crafting wood arrows, and in this particular video I am actually going to be fletching up those arrows that we started in that first video series, and so these are the 2364 POC arrows for Joe. But this technique and these products are going to work whether you shoot carbon or aluminum as well. And so as far as getting started with this, the first thing you need to do is get the gear. There's a lot of different options out there. There's different types of clamps, different types of adhesives. There's different feather, left wing, right wing, different shield, parabolic, you name it. And what Joe and I have found is mainly it's a matter of preference. And so right now I shoot parabolic right wing feathers, and Joe shoots the shield cut right wing feathers as well as Andy. But the only reason that we shoot right wing is because when we first started shooting our archery career, if you will, the archery dealer in town, he fletched up everything in left wing. All of his clamps, the whole work with left wing. And as we're shooting, we got a lot of loose tips, and so we thought, you read some articles and other things, and it says a right wing feather, because the arrow spins to the right, is going to give you less issues with loose tips. But after shooting a bunch of shots, we found that we still had loose tips, and so to negate that, I use a little bit of the low Loctite, if you will, and then we also use beeswax or other things. And so, once again, back to personal preference on that. But for us, we do shoot right wing feathers. And for a clamp, the Bitzenburger is what I use right now. I've also used a couple of different plastic clamps and whatnot, but for this one, it's a high quality clamp, and it really hasn't caused any problem for me, and so that's the reason that I do this here. Adhesive wise, MPV Arrowmate cement is what I use. Back to the dealer in town, this is what he uses for his arrows when he fletches them up, and he's had very little issues. Ever since I've been gluing up my own arrows, I've had almost no failures, and the one failure or two failure that I've seen, I'm not 100% sure on what caused it, but between Joe, Andy, and myself, we shoot a ton of arrows, and we're shooting arrows through targets, we're stumping with them, they're getting wet, they're in the rain, you name it, and to have almost no failures really hasn't given me a good reason to switch to other products. If you have someone that you know, or if you personally use a different product and you have great success with it, that's wonderful. But like I said in this video, we're just going to talk about what we do and how we do it. And so first thing we need to do, we've got all the gear we need. We've got our 5-inch feathers, which is what Joe and I prefer, and Andy as well at this point in time. We've got our clamp. I use just one of these spring clamps, and that's just to hold it onto the table to kind of firm it up. And so I will get that set up here, and then we'll start throwing the first bit of glue on. Alright, so now we've got our jig clamp down, so it's not going to move as we get our arrow set in there. Got my arrow ready. Now we have to get the knock in the correct spot. For Joe, Andy, and I, we like to use index style knocks, and so I'm sure you can see here there's that little ridge there. And there's also a little identifier in this that says R. I want that in that upward position, and then I'm going to slide this arrow into that receiving housing there with my indexer up top. This is very important if you're going to run offset color for your cock feather or your index feather. Joe, Andy, and I run all three of our feathers the exact same, and so it's not quite as critical for us, but it's still something to take into consideration before you glue up your first fletch here. And so now I'm going to simply take my clamp, I'm going to put my feather in there, and I like to flush it all the way down to start, and then these markings on the back help you identify how far forward that fletch is going to be. And I like to run mine on the second to the last one. So I'm just slightly opening the clamp, and so now it's butted up right on that second one. And now I take my fingernail and I pop out all that middle section just slightly from the clamp, leaving the front and the back still flush with it. I'm going to quick test fit my arrow. And what I'm checking for here is the alignment with that feather to the shaft itself. I want to make sure that it has contact almost the entire way, if not the entire way. And once you put the glue on, it's a lot harder and messier. So that looks great. If not, you need to adjust the settings on your clamp to move it forward or backward in the front or the back. so that you get that nice kind of consistent bead on there. So arrow is still in, it's secure. This is in the locking point or the indent in there. Fletch is ready. I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to run a little bit up on that very front point, and I'm just following the base of this quill all the way down. A little extra there, and I pop any bubbles that I see, and I work my way back to make sure that I've got glue all the way on it. So there I've got all my glue. Place it on, and I'm just going to slowly ease it down. Looks good. And now I'm holding downward pressure, 15 seconds give or take. All I'm trying to do is get it to really seat in there. And then I'm gently letting go. I double check to make sure that my magnets are consistent, which they are. Set the timer and wait. Then we'll rotate and do the next. Alright, that one's dry, so now I'm just going to pinch the clamp to open it. Slide it up. Rotate till the next index kind of clicks in there, or that indent. And repeat the first process. So fletch in and flush. Slide open. Slide the back of the quill to where I want it. Pull that inside up just slightly. Still flush on the front and back. Glue it up, clip it on, wait, and then do the third one. Alright, so our third fletch is glued up. It's been sitting in the clamp for roughly 18 minutes or more, depending on if you get distracted and start working on a different project. So we're going to take the clamp off, we're going to take it out, and then the next thing I like to do is I like to examine the fletches, make sure that there's good contact in the front and the back. It's a little bit too late now to do much about it, but I like to be confident in my arrows, and so I'm just giving it a quick once over. The final couple steps are really the thing that in my mind make fletching your own arrow kind of that much better than just buying something off the shelf. So the first part of that is I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to put a drop on the back of each one of these feathers, and what that's going to allow is that it's going to kind of seep in there and it's going to really lock that point, because most of the times when a feather fails, it seems like it fails because of either the front gets pulled off and then it's allowed to kind of peel up, or the back. And so by putting the glue in the back, I'm kind of minimizing that risk. Then after that dries for a while, I'm going to come back, flip it over, and then I'm going to take one of my arrows that's already finished and has a tip on it, and I'm going to roll, starting at the very front, back about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and I'm going to flatten that quill as smooth as I can get it, and so that when I rub my finger, I don't feel that lip. I'm going to do that to each one of these, and then I'm going to take that glue and once again put a bead of glue in the front, and then set it in a corner like that, allowing that glue to kind of work its way down. So now I've got a nice smooth transition so that if as you're shooting at target butts or other things and the arrow actually goes in too far, the target face is going to all of a sudden be compressing your fletch, and you're going to want to push it through instead of try to pull it back out, and that keeps that from getting snagged on something and peeling up. So hopefully you enjoyed this little series we did, either from the beginning, going from the wood shafts all the way to the final product, or just fletching in general. If you guys have more information you want to get from us, definitely check out our website. Give us comments, give us ideas. There's, like kind of I said in the beginning, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but this is the way that we like to do it. And roughly each arrow that I craft, whether it be wood, carbon, or aluminum, you're looking at probably about 40 to 60 minutes on each arrow total time, but there's a ton of downtime in between. And so you could get a lot of clamps and you could really pour these out. But for me, I like to take my time, I like to enjoy it, and hopefully you guys can enjoy it as well. So thanks for tuning in.